Hi there, welcome back. This is lesson 7. How are you doing so far? How did it go with lesson 6, where you were exploring the relationships with your siblings? And if you were a only child, brother or sister-like influences. So just let me know how that's going for you. Hopefully you're starting to discover, where your unhappiness lies, where your anger, where built up resentment, and sort of what's happening in your life and why family dysfunction is happening. So today's lesson is very interesting. This is going to be about you and the relationship with yourself. So I know you're probably saying, oh no, because a lot of us don't consider ourselves having a relationship with ourselves. We just show up, inhabit a body, and just live life that way, very unconsciously. However, the relationship with yourself is one of the most important. In fact, it is the most important. Now, I say that in a very loving way, not an egotistic way. I want you to love yourself, not be in love with yourself. So we're going to walk through some of the differences and learn a little bit about yourself today. So today you're going to learn your relationship with yourself. How does growing up in a dysfunctional family with stressful or toxic family members negatively affect you, both as a person and as a parent? So let's dive in. Alright, so what I'm going to do is, because we're going to take a look at the whole person. That's what holistic healing is about. Our focus typically is about emotional well-being. However, I'm also going to touch on how that upbringing has affected you physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. Because you're a whole person. You're not just your emotions. So let's start with the emotions. Alright, so how does it negatively affect your emotions? Well, first and foremost, we all want to feel loved. So, growing up in a dysfunctional family, there's probably a very good chance that you did not feel loved, you're unhappy, it's affected your self-esteem, self-worth, and self-confidence, right? Because I know, for one, that, a lot of the stuff that I'm sharing with you, love, I wasn't even aware of. So again, this is why this first stage, this module, is all about understanding how you feel and why you feel that way. We can't fix you till we know what the problem is, all right? So, how does it affect you emotionally? You probably feel unloved by your parents or siblings or family members. Perhaps you feel like you're unimportant, that you're devalued or disrespected. A lot of times people feel almost invisible, that they don't matter. I mean, last lesson we talked about the forgotten middle child, and these are some of the sort of emotional attributes of falling into that forgotten, overlooked, dismissed. Perhaps you're shy and you lack the self-confidence and you feel very insecure. Because you got to remember, I grew up in a dysfunctional home, meaning something wasn't working. And what wasn't working is you weren't feeling loved, all right? So that makes you feel very insecure about whether you'll be taken care of or not, or will your emotional needs be met. So that's where the insecurity comes from. Perhaps you grew up as a result feeling ashamed or embarrassed by your family. I know that I did. There was a time when I started my emotional evolution. I started to heal myself. See, at first, you don't notice anything because you're basically behaving the same way as your family. You only start to notice a difference when you start to heal your emotions. So when I started to heal and evolve, I started to feel ashamed of my family, embarrassed by them because of their ignorance. They were very racist, very ignorant, so that embarrassed me when they would refer to people in slang. I'm not going to use the words language. Use your imagination. So that made me feel really ashamed. And then I would feel guilty because I felt ashamed because these people raised me, it's my family. So I felt guilt about not feeling respectful to my parents. There's a lot of that. And every bad thing that happens was my fault, So we take a lot of blame, shame, and guilt, right? Those are the emotions, right? What also happens, you start to build up mistrust due to the disappointments you've had and the instability in your life. 1 minute you're being praised, next minute you're being berated. So you never knew where you stood, emotionally. What happens also as a result of growing up in a dysfunctional family with stressful relationships, emotionally, you are always in defense mode. All right, you're always in survival. So when you're defensive, you're quick to anger. Sarcasm is also anger's nasty cousin. Use a lot of sarcasm. Sometimes people joke, but they're really in pain. All right? They're resentful and very defensive, because you're always defending your heart. So this is part of the reason why you feel these ways. Okay? When you're in survival mode, you're also tempted to lie if you feel threatened. If you feel threatened or vulnerable, you will lie to protect your heart. That's not unusual to feel that as well. Sometimes a result is you start self-sabotaging yourself. You'll find yourself calling yourself names and giving yourself put-downs. I remember one of my sister-in-laws, she wasn't aware of it, but she'd constantly call herself stupid. I'm so stupid, I'm so stupid. So you're hurting yourself. What else? I want to come back to a point in a minute. Well, I'll say it now so I don't forget it. Part of this, obviously, is awareness, but I want to share a little trinket or tip that I use to start the healing process. And again, I will emphasize more of this in other stages in the self-healing process. But if you start to think of yourself as your own child, right? Would you ever talk to your children the way you talk to yourself, right? Start being consciously aware of what you're saying and all the negative stuff that come out of your mouth about yourself, right? You would never dream, no good parent would dream of calling your own children the names that sometimes we call ourselves. So that's berating ourselves, okay? The other thing is we tend to be people pleasers. We tend to be very highly reactive but highly sensitive people. So we tune into the emotions of others. When you live in a dysfunctional home, often it's for survival reasons, to protect ourselves. You always have to be one step ahead of the game to know what your parents' moods are like. Are they going to be angry today? Are Are they going to hit me today? Are they going to be rude to me today? Are they going to say something nice? So you never know what to expect. You're always sort of living on pins and needles. So you become a people pleaser. Because again, sometimes your safety depends on it. Okay? You also attract other, believe it or not, ego controlling people in your life. So your relationships could have very controlling people because that's all you're used to. That's all you know. You equate that with love. So before you know it, you're in a relationship again with someone whose ego or controlling you. Okay? And what happens, or you tend to also attract people who take advantage of you. So you feel it taken advantage of. But because of the low self-esteem, self-worth, you tend to settle for who you have. Because you don't have the energy or the confidence or self-esteem to defend yourself yet. Okay, stick with me. You might find yourself being very submissive or subservient. We've been trained or taught in dysfunctional homes to bite your tongue. Keep the peace. Don't say what you really feel. Just play along, sweep it under the rug, and no one gets hurt. Right? Right. So you probably don't even know what unconditional love is. Therefore, you probably don't feel love for yourself. All right? We're going to explore that a little bit deeper in your homework today. So you're probably unable to even love yourself or even respect yourself because you don't have healthy role models to show you how. All right? Often, as a result, you probably feel sad, depressed, struggling with a lack of joy in your life. You feel hopelessness. Perhaps you even, played around or fiddled around with suicidal thoughts. Perhaps you even attempted it. I hope not. But I know that you're here, so you're on your way to better options and better healing options. So you're of value. I tell you this, you will know at some point, you'll feel it yourself, but you're going to have to trust me right now. The fact that you're here with me right now, wanting to save your life, improve your life, have a better quality home life, tells me that you're not doing that stuff anymore. So please, 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 stick with me, stick around. Let's get through this and let's get better. Let's get happy, okay? Perhaps the root of that sadness or depression is some traumatic childhood experience that you're dealing with, or negative memories of that emotion brings up these negative emotions. And what happens is, believe it or not, we become attracted to family drama, other people's business, and gossip. I mean, I hate to admit this, but as you can see by now, that my life is very transparent with you. I'm sharing my vulnerabilities, my imperfections, to show you that I'm a real person, authentic person. So, I hate to admit, but I did feel addicted to other people's drama because that made me feel better about myself. That made me feel like I wasn't the only one going through this. When we feel similarities to others, it makes us feel better about ourselves. So it's not unusual to feel addicted to other people's drama, right? To want to hear that, because it makes us feel better about us, especially when we have very low self-esteem, okay? But you will overcome that. So that's sort of what happens to our emotions. So what happens to us physically when we grow up in family dysfunction with toxic or stressful parents? Well, we tend to have a negative self-image about ourselves. We feel we never look good. So even when people give us compliments, we have a hard time accepting them because we don't even see ourselves as beautiful. I've seen so many people, so many clients where I would ask them, just tell me one thing that you love about yourself. And they cannot come up with it. Whereby I could come up with at least 10 just by looking at them. And they can't see that. All they can see, much like probably you're going through, is your pain. So you don't see beauty yet. You will. Okay? So you tend to think, you tend to be either overweight or underweight, right? Maybe you're suffering with eating disorders, anorexia, bulimia, because you're not happy with what you see. Perhaps another symptom is that you never relax. You're constantly almost like a adrenaline junkie, just going, because you have to do something or prove something. So you push yourself to the point of exhaustion. Maybe you become a workaholic and you don't believe you deserve a break. You're not worthy of resting. A lot of moms do that. A lot of moms will often not give themselves a timeout because they're just trying to keep all the balls in the air and you're literally physically exhausting yourself. And then your energy lowers and you start to get resentful. Walk around the house like, what about me? What about me? This is why. All right? Pushing yourself. So low energy, no motivation. You might find that you just feel lazy, want to sit on the couch, bust out a bag of Doritos, and watch back-to-back episodes of Netflix. Okay? Because you have no energy, you're physically drained from all the drama and dysfunction. What also happens is your immune system becomes compromised and you tend to get sick quickly. Did you know that laughter raises your immune system? So many people have become so serious these days. Nobody's laughing. And if they are laughing, they're doing it sarcastically with a dash of negativity and anger. So a good belly laugh gets that immune system pumping, makes you healthier. Okay? So there's a little tip. Take off the violence and depressive movies. Put on some funny, good, laughing movies. All right? That's going to make you feel good. Raise your energy. All right? So what happens is when you're not motivated, low energy, I also hear this. I can't sleep. I'm not sleeping at night. I have insomnia. People are taking, melatonin and sleeping pills to get themselves through the night, right? Because your mind is busy and you're always running yourself ragged and never resting. So your life's out of balance here, okay? And then what happens then? You become susceptible to disease, chronic, dangerous, serious diseases. Okay? So then the other thing is, perhaps like most people, you're not exercising. You're not moving your body. You're not stretching your body. Your body's meant to move. It's not meant to be complacent. Perhaps you think you're getting enough exercise running the kids here, there, and everywhere. No, all you're doing is getting steps, but you're not getting exercise. Okay? You have to work those muscles in a unique way to see the effects. Perhaps physically you're not spending time in nature. That's where you're going to get your energy boost. You need to spend time in nature. We're meant to connect to the universe, to the ground beneath your feet, the sunlight. All right, all of them have health components that we need. So physically you're not spending time in nature. Perhaps you're also physically attracting bullies in your life that are hurting you, both emotionally and physically, right? Perhaps physically you're in pain because you're living with injury due to a very harsh disciplinary parent, from being hit, spanked, punched, pushed, right? My mother, like I said, she was very infamous for pulling the hair and twisting it. She had a real art for that. But that used to hurt. So physically, a lot of pain that you're enduring as a result of, dysfunctional parents that are controlling and hurtful. Perhaps, and I hope not, you're the victim of abuse, physical abuse or violence from your family, and you're dealing with that physically. Perhaps you have a addicted family member, a parent, or even sibling or child yourself that's dealing with, harming their body through alcohol, drugs, inappropriate sex, comfort eating, all kinds of very harmful addictions. Or perhaps you're even self-sabotaging your own physical body as learned behavior, as a way to, comfort yourself from the pain. Perhaps your food choices are not healthy. Perhaps you're cutting yourself. And I really hope that you're not. Okay? So that's a snapshot of how we could physically, the physical effects of your person when living in a dysfunctional home. So now we're going to look into the mind. Okay? The mind's very important. What happens is when we're growing up in a dysfunctional family with toxic parents or negative parenting, it really does a number on our mind. And our mind is a computer modem. It sort of has all the lessons we've learned, the experiences that live in the mind. So this could do a lot of harm to our minds, which also it dictates our choices, our thoughts, our physical behavior, and which leads then to negative emotions. So the mind is extremely important to be healthy and well balanced. So people that grew up in dysfunctional families tend to be very pessimistic and untrusting in nature. They grew up with fear. So you're always in survival mode and fear-based. You're living with fear all the time. So you're always in that flight mode or that fight mode, constantly. So your adrenaline is constantly going in, so is your mind, thinking of ways to protect yourself. You're always feeling unsafe, when you grow up in that sort of mentality. You also have a survival mentality. You tend to hoard things that you believe you need to keep you safe and protected. This could be money. This could be food. This could be living with scarcity mentality, a lack of abundance. And I could tell you, I lived that way for a very long time. I know people that hoard their money just in case. What if? So your mind is always, constantly giving you reasons to be afraid. So you develop mistrust because of the disappointments you had and, again, that unstable home. Perhaps you're having negative self-sabotaging thoughts. You're constantly berating yourself for thinking negatively, or rather than saying stupid, you're thinking stupid. And you become very pessimistic in nature. So you're very closed-minded, right? I'm not saying you per se, but these are some of the attributes of the mind when you grow up in a dysfunctional home. You tend to be more closed-minded. You have a busy mind. You tend to overthink things and process and constantly, what if this, what if that? I call it the what if syndrome, okay? You never rest. You're always overthinking. And you only trust your head, not your heart. because your heart gets you hurt. You believe this. So your head is going to logically get you a way to think yourself out of your pain. So you become more of a logical, linear person, where you're a thinker. You worry a lot. You get anxious or overwhelmed easily. You tend to have a lot of headaches or migraines or brain fog because you're over congesting your mind all the time. Your mind's never at peace. Think about this. Think about a car when you go to start it up. Start up your car and it's revving really high. It's going constantly revving high. So what do we usually do before we carry on with our day? We kick that down, right? So that the accelerator, it comes, I don't know, I'm not a car professional, but you know what I mean. When you kick it down and it comes down to a stable, level place where you can now drive comfortably. So same with our mind. If your mind is constantly revving with all this noise, you never bring it down, you never give it rest, then you're gonna, eventually, it's gonna give out on you. All right, so your mind is never at peace. You never have peace of mind. You're constantly stressed and unable to cope with stress because you just have too many balls in the air, thinking and worrying. You have difficulty making decisions. You start to second guess everything. You're indecisive, okay? And you're afraid to be wrong. That's why you don't want to make a decision. Because if you're wrong, then you've maybe in the past got in trouble for being wrong. So you don't want to be wrong. So being indecisive is better than wrong in your mind, right? You perhaps hate or resist change because you need to be in control, all right? So a lot of people that grew up being controlled have the need to want to control and take back control. And that leads to a lot of mental health issues that a lot of people are struggling with. Depression, obsessive OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, or PTSD. Needing to be in control all the time, because you can control it and therefore you limit the amount of fear you have. So that's a mind. So now we're going to talk about how it affects you spiritually, all right? And we all have that component. So I just want to read a little blurb to you, that our beliefs are inherited by our parents. They are responsible for creating our beliefs and for whatever gets locked in to our subconscious mind when we are vulnerable children. Remember, our slate is clean when we're children, so the beliefs clearly come from your parents. The initial beliefs, before you're influenced by school, friends, and other people. So our parents instilled our beliefs. And these beliefs rarely or never change throughout our life due to our natural trust for the parent and our blind loyalty. We don't think when we're 15, I'm going to change that belief. We usually tend to just follow suit, okay? But here's what question I want to pose to you. What if we were misguided because our parents were angry, toxic, or unhappy? Because remember, when we are those negative emotions, we're not rationalizing, we're not level-headed, we're not conscious, we're not open-minded, as we just talked about. So their influence could be a negative one on us, believing in something bigger than our own ego. So here's what could happen should our, misguided parents who are negative or dysfunctional in nature or toxic. This is sort of some of the stuff that could happen to you spiritually. You tend to not believe in God. You say you're an atheist because your parents never believed. Perhaps something devastating happened to your parents when they once believed, and they're angry at God. So now they don't believe in God or the universe, whatever the terminology you want to use, please do. But I'm going to use the reference to God for this video. So when they get angry and upset, they turn away from a higher power. And they could live that way throughout the whole parenting experience. And they will never, that will influence you directly because they won't give you any experiences that will encourage, whatever religion or belief system you have. So they're mad at God. Sometimes you get parents that are the opposite. They're religious fanatics. They believe solely in their belief system, and they're guided completely by that system. Sometimes they don't believe in. You'll end up as a result of your parents not believing in miracles or coincidences, that everything was man-made. You won't be open to universal signs, You become a victim of religious controlling parents or cultural control. You end up believing only in yourself, in your own ego. You develop a lack of compassion or empathy for others or mercy for other people, because that's where this comes from. Your spirit is connected to your heart. So it's hard to feel compassion or love for other people when you don't believe in something bigger than something you can only control. So you don't believe then in charities or volunteering your time, or, you can't make a living doing something for free. Many people that don't believe in charities, I often heard my father say that. It's nothing but nonsense. You can't make a living like that. It's all about giving back. And in fact, scientists have proved and psychologists have proved that the best way to overcome depression or feeling sad or unhappy is to do something to help another human being. Okay? Charitable works raises our energy, makes us feel good about ourselves because we're giving back. Because we're meant to both give and receive back. That's the balance and flow of love. So if you're just taking and you're never giving back through compassion and love, you will be unhappy. In fact, you'll be bloody miserable. So that's where we come up with this stuff about, Christmas and giving and love and expression. Okay? And the other thing is, you probably won't believe in destiny, that you're the one who creates your own reality. Yes, we have free will. We absolutely have free will. And we have choices to make in life. However, we are also being guided by something much bigger than ourselves, right? And if you don't believe it, then how do you explain a miracle? How do you explain that science doesn't have all the answers? So I'm not here to download my belief system. However, I'm just trying to show you that we do have a spirit within us, and it does get harmed and negatively affected growing up in a toxic family with, negative parents who are angry or don't believe in anything themselves. Okay, so that's sort of that topic. So now we're going to talk about how it sort of affects you as a parent. Like some of that as a person has a trickle down already, but now we're going to sort of focus on how growing up in a dysfunctional family with stressful, toxic relationships negatively affected you as a parent. Okay, so what ends up happening is a couple things. You become a default parent. You've heard me say that a couple times, where you repeat the same negative patterns as your parents did. You become what you didn't want to be and you start sounding like your mother or your father, you actually start to become what you despise. Okay? Because you don't, for a lack of knowing better, this is what ends up happening. I was guilty of that myself. Sometimes I would catch myself saying something my mother did, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. But you don't know your way out, all right? That's the problem, because we're not taught, and I'm moving down the list here, but we're not taught how to parent and be a conscious parent, okay? So we don't know how to fix the problem, even if you catch it. The other thing is, you inherit your parents' fears and insecurities, which will show up as negative or fear-based parenting. Life will also become very predictable and boring as a parent, resulting from the loss of joy, nothing to look forward to, there's no passion in life. You often hear people say, there's the same shit, different day. Their attitude towards life is very negative, when in fact, each day is not the same. A lot of the things you have to do and responsibilities are the same, but each day is so precious and you will never have the exact day, okay? So life, oh, I already said that. You'll end up feeling stuck in your life. The same negative patterns and experiences keep happening over and over and over again. And then what I often say to my clients is, learn the lesson and the teaching stops. So until you learn the lesson as a parent about what you have to overcome or change, then you're going to have the same negative experiences. Okay? Until you become an authentic person, and your suppressed pain will continuously, unconsciously conform you to repeat the same negative behavior that you're trying to avoid, like your parents. So it's very important that you have to drill down and start healing yourself. Okay? Otherwise, you just keep losing energy to negative emotions. You're going to continue to feel angry, pissed off, resentful, anxiety, depression. There's a whole slew of them. Hopelessness, no motivation. Okay? So that's why you keep feeling that you lose your energy and you invite fear into your parenting style. And eventually, if you stay that way, you're going to lean towards some form of addiction, right? Like I said earlier, I was addicted to drama. A lot of people are, because they produce TV shows all about drama. You know, here's one of my sinful pleasures. I like to watch The Bachelor and Bachelorette, which is loaded with drama. But you know what? If you do it once in a while, it's like having that sinful chocolate bar once in a while, or chocolate cake. It's not going to kill you, okay? Because our flesh sometimes needs to be naughty because of our inner child. It's when we stay somewhere too long that the damage starts to happen, okay? So you could be addicted to comfort eating, to money, to alcohol, drugs, sexual fantasies. You could be addicted to, more negative addictions and dangerous addictions like pornography, gambling, alcoholism. Anything you believe that's going to take that pain away, okay, as a parent. So, finally, I have a question for you now. A lot of times people say, Rita, why am I sounding and behaving like my mother, like my father, when I swore I never wanted to be like them? Okay, so until we know better as a parent, we can't be a better parent. Again, this whole teaching is about awareness. This is about, it's like when you go to the doctor again. He can't fix something until he knows your symptoms. So this whole module is about learning your symptoms. Okay? What is the problem? Why are you behaving? What are you feeling? So every parent starts out with no parenting skills or proper training. So then when you're faced with stress, you don't know how to deal with it, you become a default parent. You think, well, it's like when you're in an emergency situation. You're going to do what's normal and common and comfortable for you, even if you don't know it's better. So let me give you a live example. You're on a diet. You have to create all these special foods and meal plans, but you didn't get a chance to do it one day. So you're starving to death. And I'm speaking from experience. You got the hunger pangs, all the pain in your stomach, your body saying, just feed me for the love of God. So even though you know it's wrong, you eat that French fries, or you eat something, a bag of chips to fill you up. You know it's wrong, but you want to get rid of the pain now. So this is what ends up with parenting. Even though you know that some of the things your parents did was wrong or hurtful to your children, you're going to do it because you need to stop the pain immediately. And you have no other tools and tips to reach for because you've never been trained how to be that conscious, loving parent yet. Okay, do you see where I'm going with this? Then that's why you become a default parent. And then you feel guilty and horrible because you're acting like the parent you despise. So over time you start to feel defeated, hopeless, tired of fighting with your child. So you just sort of surrender because you can't take it anymore. And when you surrender and you feel defeated, up come those negative feelings again of sadness, depression, or anger. So the constant flow of negative emotions like this is going to keep you stuck in the past. And when you're stuck in the past, all the negative feelings and trauma that you've nicely suppressed all start to trickle to the top. Before you know it, you're completely overwhelmed and you're looking for an escape. And this is how and why family dysfunction happens and power struggles start happening in the family. Okay, so what's the solution? Here's the solution. You need to find the source of your unhappiness, and then you need to heal it once and for all. That's the solution. Okay, so that sort of concludes lesson 7. We're going to move now to a quick snapshot of your homework. So in the past, I've had you do letters to your mother, your father, your sibling relationships. This letter is going to be to yourself, the relationship with you. Okay? So again, be as open and as honest as possible. Sit in a quiet place where you won't be disrupted. Allow your emotions to flow freely. And what I also do when I'm doing this work is I take a chair, place it in front of me, sit in the chair right across from it, and pretend that you're there. Perhaps place a picture of yourself on that other chair, the empty chair. And I want you to envision having a heart-to-heart conversation with yourself, okay? And just listening. You can't speak. And imagine yourself telling you everything that they're feeling and why. And you are just taking notes, okay? So I want you to treat it that way. Do the homework, all right? And again, after you've done the letter, please do not judge yourself. Do not be ashamed of yourself. This muck has to come out of you, okay? So let it all come out. Otherwise, you have to start the healing process all over again. So please be as open and honest with yourself and non-judgmental, okay? Just be the dictation person, all right? Allow yourself to dump and let all that stuff come out. And under findings, just if you discover something about yourself when you're doing this, place it in that spot. So I hope that's helpful. And what I'm going to do is tell you about Lesson 8 now, before I share my story with you. Lesson 8 is your happiness, or sorry, your unhappiness, and how it negatively affects your family life, your home, and your relationships. So we're going to talk about that. Now listen, I know turning the camera on yourself and looking so deeply into your own eyes, it's really hard to go there, because we growing up in a dysfunctional home, you grew up with so much shame and guilt, and and you just don't love the person who's looking back at you. And I know that I didn't even know I didn't like myself or love myself. I didn't even know that that was happening to me. Chances are that you don't know it's happening to you as well. That you are just walking through life and parenting unconsciously, just going through the motions, because that's what we all do. We're robotically taught what to do, what to say, and what the expectations of life are. So very little of us are feeling joy or happiness because we're in this trance, okay? So I didn't realize that I was unhappy. And, again, about my extramarital affair, searching. I found that I was always searching for something, and what that was happiness, inner peace, joy, love. That's what I was looking for. All those other things are not going to fill you. And if they do, they're only temporary. So you got to dig down deep to find the happiness that really exists within you. And that's not some stupid cliche. That's the truth. Okay? That's where peace lives. That's where your joy is. That's where your healthy parenting will be. Okay? On the other side of your unhappiness. So when I went through all that, I'm trying to save you a lot of pain and making a lot of critical mistakes. Okay? That's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm showing up every week to be here with you. So I need you to show up again next week, and we'll start to turn the tables and look a little deeper into what could potentially happen to your family if you stay unhappy. Okay? So we don't want that for you, because I'll tell you, divorce is not for sissies. Okay? It's tough. It just is another level of dysfunction that you're trying to avoid in the first place. All right? So that concludes today's session. Please love yourself. Please be kind to yourself. All right? Do the homework and, be as open as you can. And I am so proud of you because, you're almost completed this module and you're getting stronger, even if you don't feel that way, you are. Trust me, you are. So just hang in there with me. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you in Lesson 8. God bless you. Be well. Namaste. From my heart to yours. See you in Lesson 8. Be well.